Live from Atlanta, this is CNN Newsroom with Lynda Kinkade.
We begin with two important new endorsements for U.S. President Joe Biden. While some Democrats are calling for him to exit the race for the White House, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus says, quote, "We stand with President Biden." The Congressional Black Caucus met virtually with Mr. Biden late Monday. Here's what the group's chairman told CNN a short time ago.
What I find interesting is that the issue is more around ageism and ableism and not what this President Biden, has done. His age didn't keep him from lifting 50% of children out of poverty. His age did not prevent him from passing a bipartisan infrastructure law. His age didn't prevent him from passing the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act in order to keep our communities safe from gun violence. It is his experience and his civility, because he actually cares about the American people, while Donald Trump only cares about himself or the billionaires and big corporations that he wants to give tax cuts to.
The entire Democratic caucus will meet in the day ahead for the first time since Mr. Biden's debate with Donald Trump. A growing number of Democrats are calling on the president to quit the presidential race. One member tells CNN Tuesday could be the day the dam breaks. Mr. Biden was not on the campaign trail on Monday, but First Lady Jill Biden attended a rally in Tampa, Florida, where she told supporters the president has made it clear he's all in. More now from CNN senior White House correspondent MJ Lee.
A defiant President Biden going on offense.
We're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere.
The president increasingly under siege after his disastrous debate performance last month, calling in live to MSNBC amid the furious speculation and criticism about his age and fitness for office.
I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024. We had a Democratic nominating process where the voters spoke clearly.
Biden asked about one particular statement he made last week that alarmed and angered many Democrats.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
The president playing cleanup, making clear losing is not an option.
What would you say to those who are concerned by that answer?
It's not an option, and I've not lost. I haven't lost. I beat him last time. I'll beat him this time.
But new questions about the president's health dogging the White House after the New York Times reported that an expert on Parkinson's disease from Walter Reed had visited the White House 8 times in 8 months. CNN confirming that the neurologist met earlier this year at the White House with the president's physician. The White House refusing to say if that specialist was consulting about the president.
That's a very basic, direct question.
Wait, hold on, wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times. Right?
This as the Biden campaign and its top surrogates are trying to calm the nerves of voters, lawmakers, and donors.
For all the talk out there about this race, Joe has made it clear that he's all in.
The president calling into a meeting of donors on Monday, pledging to attack Trump much more aggressively in their next debate. And in a new letter to Democratic lawmakers, Biden refusing to back down, writing that he is firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump.
Well, late Monday, Mr. Biden's physician released a letter saying the president has not seen a neurologist outside of his annual physical. Dr. Kevin O'Connor says many military personnel who serve at the White House experience neurological issues, and a neurologist visits regularly. My next guest has worked with Mr. Biden in the past. Megan Hayes was on his communications team when he was vice president and served as a deputy communications director in his 2020 presidential campaign. And she's currently a consultant to the Democratic Party convention. Good to have you with us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So, Megan, I'm really keen to hear your perspective on Joe Biden and concerns for his health. When you listened to the CNN debate between Biden and Trump, what was your initial reaction?
You know, I was a little bit surprised. It's unlike the president to show up on big moments like that. I was a little bit surprised. But, you know, seeing him before and after, it appears that it was just a bad night for him and a bad performance. But I mean, it was a little bit surprising to see him that night.
And we heard him on a call to MSNBC saying that he was frustrated by those in the party speaking out against him, saying that any of these guys who don't think that he should run against me. Go ahead, challenge me at the convention. Is that even feasible?
You know, I don't actually think that it is feasible. I mean, it is feasible, but I don't think it's realistic in the way he's doing that. But it's just like the president to speak like that. He very much feels that he will beat Donald Trump in November, and he feels that people voted for him, and he has the right to be the Democratic nominee. And so he had a bad night, and he's out there proving to voters that was a bad night, and that's not who he is overall. It's look at his performance and look at his job that he's done as the president, and then look at his plans for the next 4 years. So, you know, where I do think that people, you know, it's feasible, I just don't think it's a realistic plan for Democrats at this point.
We have been hearing reports that a Parkinson's specialist visited the White House 8 times in 8 months. How unusual is that? Because we heard from the White House press secretary, who wouldn't say if that specialist had seen the president, but did say that the president was not being treated for Parkinson's.
So it's actually not unusual. The White House has a medical unit that staff and other members of the military that go to work there every day go in and see. So if you have a cold or you have a headache or you're not feeling well, you can go see them. You can go in to see the doctors at the med unit. They frequently have specialists who are there on rotation. They come once a month. So like myself, I've been treated there for different things when I worked there, the 2 different times that I worked at the White House, on the White House grounds. So it's not unusual for a doctor to come once a month that is a specialist from Walter Reed. The med unit is operated by the military, so it's 100% normal operating procedure. I would venture to guess there's also a dermatologist. There's also maybe a physical therapist or other doctors that have specialties that also come to the med unit.
Senator Bernie Sanders spoke to my colleague Caitlin Collins earlier, who said that President Biden is the best president for working class Americans that ever was. Let's just take a listen to what he had to say.
President Biden has stood up for the working class of this country probably more strongly than any president in modern history. I think he had a terrible debate. Nobody disagrees with that. I think he's been doing better since that debate. I think he's got to get out there. He's got to talk to people. He has a press conference on Thursday. People will see how he does. In my opinion, I think that he has the ability to be an excellent president. But what we need right now in that campaign is an agenda that speaks to the next 4 years.
Megan, is that your advice? Is that all it's going to take to tell the president to get out there and speak to the people?
Yeah, I mean, that's how elections are won, right? Is talking to voters. So he needs to go convince voters that him and Vice President Harris are the best people to do the job for the next 4 years. And I do agree with Senator Sanders that he is, you know, the best president in modern history that's been fighting for the working class, for the middle class. That's been the president's stance since he was in the Senate, and it's what he ran his campaign on in 2020, what he ran the White House on, and you know, was fortunate enough to have a bunch of legislation that benefits the American people. And he believes strongly in unions. He believes strongly in the working class. So, you know, getting out there and getting his message out and talking to people about what he's doing for them, I think is super important right now.
And given, Megan, that you worked with him on the 2020 presidential campaign and before that when he was vice president, how has he changed in your mind? Is he up to the task at this age to be the president of the United States for another 4 years?
Yeah, I also worked with him in the White House when he was the president, and I traveled all over the world with him, both as the vice president and the president. He's an incredible leader. He has a tremendous amount of respect from other world leaders. He also is extremely talented being out on the trail and talking to voters and connecting with voters. He leads with empathy and compassion, and he does have what it takes to be the president for another 4 years. I think now he's a little bit at a deficit from the debate, but I think if he gets out there and he does what he does best in connecting with voters and sympathizing with their problems and understanding their problems and understanding and being able to provide them with a way that he's trying to help them, I think that he will win in November.
Megan Hayes, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.